The airplane was full that afternoon. People were placing their bags in the overhead bins, fixing their seats, and checking their phones before the long flight from New York to Los Angeles. Everyone looked tired and ready to relax. But something broke the calm atmosphere. A loud cry filled the cabin, sharp, high, and painful. It was the sound of a baby. Many passengers turned their heads at the same time. Some frowned, some rolled their eyes, and some whispered in frustration. Nobody liked a crying baby on a long flight. In the center aisle stood Michael Turner, a young man in his early 30s. Tall, well-dressed, and clearly wealthy. Anyone could tell from his expensive watch, his designer coat, and the two assistants who had walked with him until the plane door. But now he was alone, holding his baby daughter, Lily, who was screaming non-stop. Michael tried bouncing her gently. He tried giving her a bottle. He tried whispering in her ear, "It's okay, sweetheart, please stop." But Lily cried louder, her face turning red, tiny fists shaking in the air. People around him were already annoyed. A man in the next row said, "Can someone get control of that kid?" A woman complained loudly, "This is going to be a terrible flight, oh God." Michael heard everything. And every word felt like an arrow to his chest. But he didn't shout back. He didn't argue. He only held his daughter tighter. His eyes were tired, with dark circles that showed many sleepless nights. He was trying his best, and it was still not enough. A flight attendant came over and gave him a polite but tired smile. "Sir, can I help you? Maybe she needs a pacifier." Michael shook his head. "She won't take it. She hasn't stopped crying since morning." The attendant sighed. "I'll bring warm water. Maybe that helps." Lily cried louder, as if something was hurting her deep inside. In the back of the plane, near the window, sat a woman who watched everything very carefully. She was Angela Brooks, a black woman in her late 30s. She had calm eyes, warm dark skin, and a face that carried a quiet strength. She wore simple clothes, a soft brown sweater and jeans, and carried no expensive bags. She looked like an ordinary traveler, but there was something unusual about her gaze. She watched both Michael and the baby with deep focus, like she understood something others did not. While the attendants tried to help, Angela did not speak. She did not complain. She simply observed. Her hands were folded, but her fingers tapped lightly, as if she was thinking hard. The plane door closed. The captain made announcements. People fastened their seat belts. But Lily's crying only got worse. Some passengers glared at Michael. Others put on headphones. A few even asked attendants to move them to another seat. But the flight was full. There was no escape from the non-stop cries. Michael gently rocked the baby, but he looked like he was breaking inside. He whispered, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Lily. I don't know what to do." His voice trembled, and his eyes turned wet. He looked around helplessly, hoping anyone would understand. But nobody did. Except Angela. She leaned forward slightly, still watching the baby with deep attention. She noticed something others missed, something in the way Lily cried. It wasn't the normal cry of a hungry or tired child. It was sharper. It carried fear, not frustration. Something was wrong. Angela's eyes narrowed, and she whispered to herself, This isn't normal." The plane finally began to move away from the gate. Passengers sat back, preparing for takeoff. But Michael was still struggling. Lily's cries were so loud that even the pilot could probably hear them through the door. Then the unexpected happened. The baby suddenly stopped crying for 1 second. Just 1 second. Her small body froze. Her breath caught. Then she screamed again, but this time the sound was different. It was weaker, but more painful, like she was trying to push something out or warn someone. Angela quickly unbuckled her seat belt. A woman next to her said, "Excuse me. The seat belt sign is on." Angela looked at her and said calmly, "I know." Her voice was steady, strong, but filled with urgency. "I have to go." She stood up, even though the plane was starting to roll forward. Heads turned again, this time toward her. People wondered what she was doing. Some were annoyed. Some were curious. Michael saw her walking slowly down the aisle toward him. He looked confused and tired. The baby still screamed in his arms. Angela reached him and stopped just one step away. Michael frowned, ready for another complaint. But she didn't complain. Instead, she said something completely unexpected. "Sir, please let me help. I know why she's crying." Michael stared at her, shocked. "You what? How could you possibly know?" Angela looked at the baby with gentle eyes. "Her cry, it's not just crying. It's a sign. Something is wrong." Passengers nearby leaned closer. Everyone suddenly felt the tension shift. Something big was about to happen. Angela took a slow breath, and with a firm but calm voice said, "Your baby is trying to warn you about something." Michael's heart dropped. The screen fades to black. For a moment, Michael stood frozen. He didn't understand what the strange woman meant. His mind was tired, confused, and filled with fear. Lily's cries were still sharp, but Michael's heart beat even louder. Passengers leaned in, curious. No one blinked. Angela stood calmly in the aisle, even though the plane was still moving toward the runway. Her hands were steady. Her eyes were focused on Lily, not the passengers, not the noise, not even Michael's shocked expression. Michael finally spoke, his voice shaking. "What do you mean she's trying to warn me?" "She's just crying, she's been crying all day." Angela shook her head slowly. "No. This is not a normal cry. I know this sound. I've heard it before." A woman across the aisle whispered, "Who is she, a doctor?" Another man muttered, "This is crazy. Just sit down, lady." But Angela ignored everyone. Her eyes stayed on the small baby. Michael pulled Lily closer, worried. "Please, don't make this harder. I'm trying my best." Angela softened her voice. "I know. I can see you are a good father. But right now, you need help." Michael looked exhausted, almost defeated. "What kind of help?" "She doesn't stop crying no matter what I try." Angela held out her hands gently, not touching, just offering. "Let me hold her. Just for a moment. I promise I won't hurt her. I only want to help." Michael took a step back. "Why should I trust you? You're a stranger." Angela nodded. "You're right. I am a stranger. But your baby is in pain. I can hear it. And if we wait longer, things could get worse." Michael felt his stomach twist. The words "worse" echoed in his mind. He looked around desperately. No one else offered help. Everyone only complained. He looked back at Angela. She stood with steady hands, patient eyes, and a confidence that didn't feel fake. Who are you?" he asked quietly. Angela took a slow breath before answering. "My name is Angela Brooks. I used to work as an infant trauma nurse." Gasps spread across the cabin. One passenger whispered, "Infant trauma, that means she saved babies." Another whispered, "Then why is she on a plane? Why isn't she working?" Michael swallowed hard. "Used to." Angela's eyes lowered for a moment, her voice turning heavy with an old pain. "Yes. I left the job." She didn't explain why. "Not yet." Michael stared at the baby. Lily's cry had changed again, softer but more desperate. Like she was fighting to breathe. Like she was calling for help. The plane shook lightly as the engines grew louder. A flight attendant rushed over. "Sir, ma'am, please sit down. We're about to take off." Angela didn't move. Her voice was steady. "This is an emergency. The baby's airway might be blocked." The attendant froze. "Blocked? Are you sure?" Angela nodded. "Very sure." Michael felt panic rise in his chest. He looked down at Lily, whose face was turning red again. Her breaths were fast, short, like she was trying to pull air through something stuck. He felt his hands shake. Angela stepped a little closer. "Michael, if you don't let me help now, the plane will be in the air. No hospital. No doctor. No chance." Michael's heart slammed against his ribs. He looked into Angela's eyes. There was fear in them, but not for herself. For his child. Passengers watched like it was a movie. Finally, with trembling hands, Michael whispered, "Please, help her." Angela slowly extended her arms. "May I hold her?" Michael nodded and carefully placed Lily into Angela's hands. She held the baby with the gentleness of someone who had done this many times, but with the care of someone who still deeply loved what they once did. Lily's cries softened for a moment. Angela placed her against her shoulder, listening closely. "She's trying to cough," Angela murmured. "Something is stuck. She can't clear it." Michael felt tears burning in his eyes. I didn't know. I thought she was just fussy." Angela looked at him sympathetically. "You're not a bad father. Babies don't always show pain in obvious ways. But I know this kind of cry." Angela gently rubbed the baby's back in small circles. Lily coughed weakly, then cried again. The entire plane was silent. Angela whispered to the baby, "It's okay, sweetheart. I hear you. I'm here." Michael watched, surprised at how Lily responded to Angela's voice. Her tiny hands clutched Angela's sweater. Angela looked back at Michael. "She needs help fast. But I can do something. It's small, but it might clear the blockage." Michael's heart dropped. "Might? What happens if it doesn't?" Angela's face tightened. "Then we'll need to demand an emergency stop." Passengers looked around, shocked. "Emergency stop? For a baby? Is it that serious?" Angela confirmed with a firm nod. Michael felt his world spin. "Do it. Please. Whatever you need to do." Angela took a deep breath and positioned Lily carefully. Her hands were steady, practiced. "This will be gentle. But it must be exact." Michael held his breath. Every passenger watched. The pilot's voice came through the speaker, "Cabin crew, prepare for takeoff." But no one moved. Everyone's eyes were on Angela. She looked at Lily one last time, then spoke softly. "Sweetheart, help me help you." And then she began. Angela held Lily gently, her hands steady, her face calm. The baby's tiny body was trembling, her small breaths shallow. Michael stood close, frozen in place, watching every move, feeling helpless yet terrified. The entire plane seemed to fall silent, as if everyone knew something critical was happening. Angela's voice was soft, but strong. "Michael. I need you to stay calm. Any sudden move could hurt her." Michael nodded, though his hands shook. I'm trying. Just, do something. Please." Angela studied the baby carefully. She noticed the subtle rise and fall of Lily's chest. Something was wrong. The cry, the cough, the struggle to breathe, it was all a warning. She had seen this before, many times in hospitals. But this was different. This was a child in the air, miles away from medical help. Angela took a deep breath. "Michael, your baby's airway is partially blocked. It's probably a small object, something she swallowed while playing. She can't clear it herself. Michael's eyes widened. Oh my God, how do you know? Angela's gaze softened, but she didn't let go of her focus. Because I've treated babies like this before. I was a trauma nurse, Michael. I worked with children who couldn't breathe. I know the sounds of distress. Michael's heart thumped painfully. Trauma nurse, you left. Angela nodded. Her eyes flickered, shadowed with memory. Yes. Years ago. I lost a patient, a baby. I promised I'd never hold a child in that kind of danger again. I thought I could never go back. But, she looked at Lily, her hands gentle on the small body, sometimes life doesn't give you a choice. Michael felt a lump in his throat. He had expected a stranger, someone polite but powerless. Instead, this woman was calm, experienced, and focused like a lifeline. Lily's cries had softened, but she was still struggling. Angela leaned closer, listening to her breathing. She's trying, she's fighting. But she can't manage it alone. I need to help her clear the blockage now. Michael swallowed hard. Do whatever you need. Please. Angela positioned Lily on her lap, supporting the tiny back and shoulders. She whispered to the baby, "It's okay, sweetheart. I hear you. I'm here. You're safe." The baby's small hands clutched Angela's sweater. Michael watched, his chest tightening with fear and hope. Angela began a gentle but precise maneuver, pressing lightly on Lily's back while tilting her body in a careful angle. Lily coughed once, then weakly again. Passengers leaned forward in their seats, unable to look away. Even the flight attendants, trained to stay calm, were frozen in awe. Angela whispered, "Stay with me, little one. You can do it." Michael's hands were clenched. He could not move, could not speak, could only watch. Every second felt like an eternity. Lily coughed again, a little stronger. Her tiny body shivered, then she tried to cry, but the sound was different now. Softer, less urgent. Angela's eyes sparkled with hope. Almost there, just a little more. Then Lily let out a small, sharp cough, and something tiny fell onto Angela's hand. A small piece of plastic, the kind children put in their mouths while playing. Angela smiled, relieved but still serious. She held Lily upright, checking that the airway was clear. The baby breathed normally for the first time in hours. Michael could hardly believe it. His chest heaved as tears formed in his eyes. Oh my God, she's okay. Passengers began to murmur in surprise. Some clapped quietly, not wanting to disturb Lily, but unable to contain their amazement. Angela handed Lily back to Michael, who held her close, rocking her gently. The baby nuzzled against his chest, calm at last. Michael looked up at Angela, voice trembling. I don't know how to thank you. You saved her life." Angela smiled faintly. "You don't need to thank me. I just did what I knew to do. But, you have to promise me something." Michael looked puzzled. "Anything. You need to take care of her, really watch her. Babies this small, they're fragile. They try to tell us things, but we don't always hear. Listen to her." Michael nodded, gripping her hands, feeling gratitude and awe. "I promise. I will." Angela's gaze softened. Then she stepped back. "I'll return to my seat now. She's safe, and she needs her father." But Michael stopped her. "Wait, who are you, really? Why are you here? Why did you help me?" Angela paused, looking down. Her voice was soft but firm. "Because once, someone helped me when I couldn't. And now, it's my turn to help someone else. That's all you need to know." Michael swallowed, emotions swirling inside him. He realized she understood more than anyone else could. She had seen danger, fear, and helplessness. And she had acted not for money, not for fame, not for attention but for life itself. The plane leveled off, engines humming steadily. Lily was asleep in Michael's arms, calm and peaceful. The passengers relaxed, some shaking their heads in disbelief, others quietly whispering about what they had witnessed. Angela returned to her seat quietly, folding her hands in her lap. Her face was calm, but her mind was alert. She knew the danger had passed for now, but she also knew the experience had left a mark not just on Michael and Lily, but on everyone who saw it. Michael glanced at her one last time, his eyes filled with silent gratitude. "Thank you. I don't even know your name." Angela smiled softly. "Angela Brooks. And don't worry. I'll always be just a few steps away." The camera of fate had caught this moment. The passengers whispered, the baby slept, and the millionaire realized that strangers could sometimes carry the greatest power, courage, knowledge, and hope. The screen fades slowly, leaving the audience wondering, what other secrets does Angela carry? And what will happen when the plane lands? Angela's hands were steady, but her heart raced. She had done this before in hospitals, but never on a plane, never under the watchful eyes of dozens of strangers, and never with so much at stake. Every small movement mattered. Every second counted. Lily's tiny body trembled in her arms. Her breaths were shallow, rapid, and uneven. Angela whispered softly to her, "It's okay, sweetheart. I'm right here. Just a little more, you can do it." Michael watched from a few steps away. He couldn't move. He couldn't speak. He could only pray silently as his daughter struggled. His palms were sweaty, his chest tight, and every instinct screamed at him to take Lily back and fix this himself. But he knew he was powerless. Only Angela had the knowledge, the skill, and the calm to save her now. Angela leaned Lily gently against her shoulder and began a careful maneuver. She pressed lightly on her back while tilting the baby's body at the right angle. She whispered encouragements the way a mother would, her voice calm, steady, and full of warmth. Passengers leaned forward in their seats, barely breathing. Even the flight attendants who had seen emergencies before were frozen in awe. Nobody dared move. Nobody dared speak. The baby coughed once. Then again, slightly stronger. Angela's eyes sparkled with hope, but she remained focused. One wrong move, 1 second of hesitation, and the baby could struggle again. Michael felt tears in his eyes. He whispered, "Come on, Lily, come on, sweetheart, please." Angela's hands never wavered. "Almost there, just a little more. You're strong, Lily. You can do it." Another cough came. This one was more forceful. And then, something tiny fell onto Angela's hand. Michael's heart stopped. He leaned in closer. Angela carefully looked at the small object. It was a tiny piece of plastic from a toy, a piece small enough to choke a baby. Angela held Lily upright and checked her airway. The baby's breathing normalized. Her tiny chest rose and fell rhythmically for the first time in hours. Angela smiled, her face filled with relief. Michael felt tears run down his cheeks. "Oh my God, she's breathing, she's okay." Passengers gasped, whispered, and some even clapped quietly. The tension in the cabin lifted like a heavy storm finally passing. Angela handed Lily back to Michael. He held her close, rocking her gently, his own tears falling freely. The baby snuggled against him, her small hands clutching his shirt. She was calm. She was safe. Michael looked up at Angela, his voice shaking. I don't know how to thank you. You saved her life." Angela shook her head softly. "You don't need to thank me. I only did what I knew to do. But, you must promise me something." Michael, still holding Lily, looked confused. Anything. I'll do anything. Listen to her, Angela said firmly. Babies try to tell us things. They cry for a reason. Don't ignore it. You have to be there for her, really be there. Michael nodded, his hands tightening around the baby. I promise. I'll listen. I'll always be there. Angela's eyes softened. Good. That's all I ask. She turned to return to her seat. Michael tried to speak, but he couldn't. Finally, he managed, Wait, who are you, really? Why did you help us? Angela paused. Her face reflected a hint of sadness, but also strength. Once, someone helped my baby when I couldn't. I promised myself I would do the same if I ever had a chance. That's why I'm here. Nothing more, nothing less. Michael's chest tightened. He understood then Angela was not just skilled, she was someone who had lived pain, loss, and fear, and had chosen to use her experience to save life. Lily stirred in Michael's arms and cooed softly, reaching for him with tiny hands. Michael held her closer, finally breathing normally himself. He looked at Angela, eyes full of gratitude and awe. You really saved her. Angela smiled faintly. Yes. But now she's safe, and she needs you. You're her father. The plane reached cruising altitude. The passengers began to relax, but the tension lingered in the air. Everyone who had witnessed the rescue whispered quietly about what they had seen. They would not forget this moment. Michael glanced at Angela one last time. I don't know how I can repay you. I owe you everything. Angela shook her head again, smiling softly. Just take care of her. That's all the repayment I need. She returned to her seat, folding her hands in her lap. Her face was calm, but her mind remained alert. She had saved a life, but she knew the experience had left a mark on everyone present. Some would see it as a miracle. Some would see it as luck. But Michael would remember her as a savior, someone who had given him back his most precious treasure. Michael watched Angela quietly, holding Lily close. He realized that strangers could carry the most incredible power, courage, knowledge, and hope. And sometimes, that power could change everything. As the plane hummed steadily, Michael whispered softly to Lily, Thank God for her. Thank God for Angela. And in the back of the cabin, Angela quietly watched, a gentle smile on her face. She knew her secret, her skill, and her heart had saved a life today and maybe, in some way, saved Michael too. The plane finally landed in Los Angeles. The passengers began to move, stretching, whispering, and sharing their relief. But for Michael Turner, nothing else mattered. His daughter Lily was safe, finally calm in his arms, her tiny breath steady and soft. Michael looked around the cabin, searching for Angela. She had returned to her seat quietly, folding her hands in her lap as if nothing had happened. But he knew better. She had saved his daughter's life. He owed her everything. He walked toward her, holding Lily gently, as passengers gave him curious glances. Some were filming discreetly on their phones. News of the heroic act had already begun to spread. Michael's mind raced. How could he ever thank this woman? Angela looked up as he approached. Her eyes were calm, steady, but there was a softness in them too, a quiet pride in what she had done. Angela, Michael began, his voice shaking. I don't even know where to start. You saved her, you saved Lily. Angela shook her head. I just did what I knew to do. That's all. Michael took a deep breath. No. It's more than that. You didn't just save my daughter, you saved me. You were calm when I couldn't be. You knew what to do when I was helpless. I need you in our lives. Angela raised an eyebrow, surprised. In your life. I'm just a stranger. I'm not looking for anything. Michael knelt down slightly so Lily could reach out to her. The baby smiled and cooed softly, stretching her tiny hand toward Angela. It was as if she already recognized her. "See," Michael said, tears in his eyes. "She knows you. Lily, she trusts you." Angela looked at the baby, a gentle smile forming. Her heart softened. She had only meant to save Lily's life, not become part of it. But something in the baby's eyes, in the trust and innocence, touched her deeply. Michael's voice grew firmer. "Angela, I want you to be Lily's private nurse, her caregiver. Someone she can rely on, someone I can rely on. I know it's sudden, but you're the only person who can help us in the way you just did." Angela shook her head gently. "Michael, I left that life behind. I don't do this work anymore. I can't. It's too much." Michael took a deep breath, leaning closer. "I know. And I'm not asking you to go back to your old life. Just be here with Lily. Help her grow. Teach me how to be the father she needs. Please." Angela looked down at the baby, then back at Michael. Her mind raced. She had vowed never to return to that world. She had left hospitals, trauma, and endless responsibility behind. Yet, when she saw Lily smiling, trusting, safe, something stirred in her heart. Michael's voice softened, almost a whisper, but full of emotion. "You didn't just save my baby, you saved me too. I can't do this alone. Please. Let me give you a place here with us." Angela paused, feeling emotions she had long buried. She looked at the small, trusting face in Michael's arms. She felt the weight of her choice, but also the warmth of hope. Slowly, she nodded. I. "I'll stay," she said softly. "But only because she needs me. Only because I know what it's like to be helpless and scared." Michael's face lit up. Relief and gratitude washed over him. He gently kissed Lily's forehead. "Thank you, Angela. You have no idea what this means to me, to us." Angela smiled faintly. "I think I do. And I'll do my best. That's all I can promise." As they walked down the plane aisle together, passengers whispered, took photos discreetly, and shared the story with each other. News cameras outside were already waiting, alerted by the commotion inside the cabin. Reporters asked questions, eager to capture the heroism that had just occurred. Michael held Lily close, shielding her from the cameras, while Angela stayed at his side, calm and composed. When asked about her heroic act, Angela only smiled and said, "I just did what I could. That's all." Michael knew better. He knew that Angela had given them more than just her skill. She had given them hope, courage, and life itself. Back in the car, Michael buckled Lily into her car seat while Angela sat beside them. The baby cooed softly, looking at Angela with curious eyes, reaching out her tiny hand once more. Michael glanced at Angela and said, quietly but firmly, "Welcome to the family." Angela felt her heart swell. This wasn't the life she had expected. She hadn't planned to return to caring for children. But something about Lily, about Michael, about this small moment of trust and gratitude, told her that maybe, just maybe, this was exactly where she was meant to be. The sun set over Los Angeles as they drove toward home. Michael held Lily close, Angela beside them, and for the first time in hours, he felt at peace. The cries, the panic, the fear, it was all behind them. What remained was hope, gratitude, and a new beginning. Angela looked at Michael, then at Lily, and whispered softly, "Let's make sure she always feels safe." Michael nodded, tears in his eyes. "Always." And as the car disappeared into the evening light, the story of a crying baby, a millionaire father, and a brave stranger who did the unthinkable came to an end. But for Michael, Lily, and Angela, this was only the beginning of a life they would share together, a life built on trust, courage, and hope.